this starts. Oh, okay, there we go. Looking good. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I am broadcasting to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm here with my good friends Catherine and Dan and Chris and Karen. And today we're going to be talking about verse 53 of the Tao Te Ching as interpreted through the book Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao by Wayne Dyer. And I just want to take a moment here and give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we can read the verse and get to talking about it. So jump out, guys. Whoever wants to jump out.
Sorry, didn't get a chance to read it yet, so let me grab my book, though. I do have my book, I think, right here still. Because I still have it handy, but you said verse 53, so I will look at it really quick while somebody hopefully jumps out and says something.
Good morning.
Morning, Chris.
Hi, Samantha. How you doing, guys?
May as well introduce yourself while you're out there, Chris.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris from Chicago, and I was pushing the wrong button on Zoom, so it took me a minute. Nice pot of coffee, Samantha. Hello?
I know it does look like a whole pot, doesn't it? When it's like this close to the camera. It's not that big, it's just well insulated. Can we hear you, Karen, or Catherine? There you go.
I don't know if you can hear me, but this is Catherine in Boulder, Colorado. I'm happy to be here this morning.
I guess I should actually introduce myself for those who haven't seen me for a while, because I haven't been able to be on for a while. I'm Dan Sissick. I'm living in very cloudy, gloomy, cold Las Vegas right now because, yes, we've had rain and stuff and things like that, so the temperatures have dropped a little bit. Not that we don't need the rain, but yeah, it does get cold here. People don't really believe that. We've had below 30 weather here, and we've actually had it snow a few times over the years I've lived here. So, and unbeknownst to a lot of people, that it gets cold here.
Do you have to bust out the winter coat?
I do. I don't like the cold, so anything below about 80 and I'm not happy. I like it 110 above.
I hear you there. Well, you're talking to a guy from Chicago, so I'm not sure how much mercy I can have on you. Just kidding. It's about 50 here, though.
You gonna jump out there, Karen?
I'm laughing because it looked for all the world like Chris had landed on his butt on the floor, and I'm thinking, how mature am I? I'm over here laughing. So anyway, I'm Karen from the Valley of the Sun, where there is no sun. I was going to mention with what Dan was saying, that when it's cold in the desert, it's a different feel. It's a very different feel. Although I haven't had a whole lot of experience with humid weather, and I'm from Cody, Wyoming, up by Yellowstone Park, where it's still a dry whatever it is. It's a dry weather, and my brother spent a couple years in the D.C. area a number of years back, and he said you can experience 30 below weather, and it doesn't feel as bad as this does when it's wet and cold. So I guess we all have our experiences with that. Are you ready to read the verse, Dan?
Yep, I got it.
Oh, awesome. Read away, Dan.
Okay. if I have even just a little sense I should walk in the great way, and my only fear would be straying. The great way is very smooth and straight, and yet the people prefer devious paths. That is why the court is corrupt, the fields lie in waste, the granaries are emptied. Dressing magnificently, wearing a sharp sword, stuffing oneself with food and drink, amassing wealth to the extent of not knowing what to do with it, is being like a robber. I say this pomp at the expense of others is like the boasting of thieves after looting. This is not the Tao. And anybody's thoughts on that, or I'll throw mine in if nobody else has anything.
Yeah, go for it. You're already out.
Okay. To me, the way I looked at this is, well, I'd like to take it a lot kind of to, even how my beliefs and what I believe that, I believe that there is one way to our, how we interact with, for me, it's God, but for a lot of people, they believe the universe, the, infinite intelligence or whatever. But, and my only fear is straying, trying, getting out of that, sense of intimate and right relationship with that, with God, or for others, infinite intelligence or the universe. But and it's very smooth, and usually, not it doesn't not have trials and tribulations, but somehow you are able to get through it. And yet people prefer devious paths. They try to shortchange things or do things and cut to the chase for what they feel is what they feel like they deserve, or what's right, or because they feel life's unfair, I guess, maybe. And that's why we have, so much corruption and things out there, because people try to shortchange things. And why you see people with wealth and stuff that they've gained it in ways, a lot of people have gained it in ways that are not the most forth, right, or in accordance to the universe, how the universe acts and interacts and gives and takes away. And so I think that's why, it's like being a robber. It just, you're cheating yourself, but you're also cheating others of what the order and the way the universe and the way God's ordered things for people to receive, I guess, is the best way I could put it.
I think that's interesting how you mentioned cheating yourself. That's yeah, because I mean, when you do go about things in a unscrupulous way, Wayne talks about how, if we all looked at the world and looked at everyone as if we were all one and we were all a part of each other, that we would realize how we are, exactly what you were saying, cheating ourselves just like we are cheating others. Who else wants to jump out? First thoughts on this verse.
I'll jump. I don't have the book, so I never read this because I never know which interpretation or which can't think of the word right now we're using. But as I was looking about for it, I found that my friend, I call him a friend because I enjoy his interpretations of the Tao, and he seems to relate very well with Lao Tzu, and he's always got stories about him. And he says, well, at the end of the interpretation that he has, the last two lines of the middle part say, "They possess more than they can spend. This is called the vanity of the robbers." And then the last line is, "It is certainly not the way." And he says that's ending the chapter with a joke, because the word robber is also Tao. and pronounced the same as Tao, although they're not the same. And so Lao Tzu deplored those who kept to themselves much more than they could consume, and that was robbery to him, or pride in their gluttony. I'm sorry, I have a little cold just residing right in my throat at the moment. But he also remarked about how all of this was written because Lao Tzu had been teaching this, and then he decided that he needed to get out of China. And to get out, one of the guards wanted him to write all of this down. And he said, leaving the country for good may have given him a little bit more courage to be this outspoken, but it's still really impressive when you think about how he lived, where the ruling classes, all had the swords. They didn't mind using them. And so he spoke very clearly against the wealthy that, just were gluttonous. And he compared that with Jesus, saying Jesus was not subsequently leaving the country, so his fate was a different one. And those in power are quite touchy when their privileges are questioned. Anyway, I just thoroughly enjoyed looking that up and seeing that interpretation, so I'd pass that on.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Karen, if you've got that verse in front of you, I'd love to hear his full, that version of it for the whole thing. Do you have it?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead and read it from the beginning, because it is interesting hearing the different translations and how.
And if you look at the one that Wayne Dyer chose, that Chris read to us, or Dan read to us, there's a lot of similarities, but there's just some little pieces that are kind of cool. Okay, if I have just an ounce of sense. Sorry, can you hear me okay? Better now, huh? If I have just an ounce of sense, I follow the great way and fear only to stray from it. The great way is very straight, but people prefer to deviate. When the palace is magnificent, the fields are filled with weeds, and the granaries are empty. Some have lavish garments, carry sharp swords, and feast on food and drink. They possess more than they can spend. This is called the vanity of robbers. It is certainly not the way. That's the joke. It is certainly not the robber. Who would think that TAO is both way and robber? I think that's really fascinating.
Well, one thing that the Tao has, it keeps reminding us of, is the opposites of things, and how it's those opposites that are, the thing. We need to embrace the fact that there are opposites, because we wouldn't know one if we didn't know the other one. So I think that's interesting that, the way is, or the Tao is the same as, or that word means, it can mean both things, which is interesting, right? I mean, just like up and down. I mean, if you flip yourself upside down, up is down and down is up, right? So, I mean, it just depends on your perspective. But I like reading the different translations and hearing other people's perspective on those. Yeah. Okay, so Catherine, she posted in here. She's having difficulty with her internet, and so she posted on here. Do you want to try and talk, and we'll see what you sound like, and then if you get all crackly, then I'll just read this.
Can you hear me?
So far, so good.
Okay. So the thing that came up for me was just this last New Year's Eve, I was watching all the fireworks, and I got on this YouTube channel that was streaming live fireworks, and they kept switching from one country, and then they go to the next country, and then they go to the next country. And they were just, I mean, unbelievable fireworks. Probably, I don't know how much money, but I mean, at least hundreds of thousands, if not more than that. I have no idea how much fireworks cost, but I would guess probably, I don't know, maybe $1 million at least, by the way some of them went on and on and on, and in countries that people are starving in. And so amongst all the grand things, I like focused in, and I was seeing every little one thing, and I kept thinking, oh my God, if we had all the money spent on these fireworks for all the countries, I mean, we could literally save so many lives from people who are starving. That would feed a lot of people for a long time, actually. And matter of fact, I might have to start a campaign about that. See if I can get people to agree to not do fireworks next New Year's, and let's actually feed some people who are dying. But that's what came up for me on that verse.
Yeah, I like how you brought that up. That's interesting because we had some friends that they really like shooting off fireworks and whatnot. And I think from the beginning of the holiday, whenever they start selling fireworks, I don't know what, in May or something, I have no idea. From then until after the 4th of July, he had easily spent $1,000 on freaking fireworks. And I'm just like, literally burning his money. I was just like, wow. I don't know. I get the fireworks display and the fact that, we're celebrating, either the new year, if it's a new year thing, we're excited that we've made it to the next year, and then the 4th of July, of course, here in the U.S., it's about that independence from the motherland or whatever, even though we've been independent for all this time. I was listening to a TED Talk the other day, and I know this is completely not about the fireworks, but it sort of is the same thing. I was listening to this TED Talk the other day, and the woman was saying something to the effect of, she was like, we need to value the things that we do in our daily lives that are worth something, like, taking care of our families and going to work and helping people and this and that and the other. And we don't give ourselves enough value for these little things that we do. We talk to ourselves like we're not really worth anything. And yet every year we celebrate this birthday. And this birthday, all we have to do is survive one more year, and we get this big celebration for it, a lot of times. But yet, here we are doing these little things throughout our daily life, and nobody's even acknowledging them. And I'm like, it's kind of like that, It's like the whole big fireworks display is just, ooh, we made it to another year, and yay, rather than celebrating all the things that we've done in that year that make us make us who we are, or show how we have worked to improve the world, or improve our lives, or improve our community, or whatever it is. We should be celebrating those things rather than just randomly shooting off fireworks. But on the fireworks thing is, we used to attend this fireworks display that was put on by the local, it's called the White River Yacht Club down in Broad Ripple, and they used to shoot off fireworks over the White River, and so we'd go down on the boat and watch the fireworks. It was really cool. But I found out that this display that they were doing was costing, it was like $10,000 or $15,000 for this fireworks display, and I was just, my mind was, I'm like, this little community in this little White River Yacht Club, it is not like a yacht club, they just call themselves the yacht club. It's just a bunch of little, in-town rednecks that all like to sit around and drink, and have a party and whatnot, and they call themselves the yacht club. But what's funny about that, and I'm like, they could take that $10,000 to $15,000 and do something for the community that their little yacht club is smack dab in the middle of, that is one of the lower, it was like a kind of not the lowest income area, but a very low income area. I'm like, if they just spent that little bit of money on doing something for that community, it just, it boggles my mind where we spend money and where we don't spend money. It's like how out of balance things are, where, you know, the teachers get paid such low salaries, and then these political people earn so much, but what are they really doing? You know? I don't know. I've gabbed for a while. Somebody else jump out there.
Well, I was gonna jump out and kind of join on your little thing there. It's kind of like what, you know, Wayne's saying here. You know, the great way is very smooth and straight, and yet the people prefer devious paths. So, you know, it goes back to, you know, it's funny how in life and in society we have learned to celebrate the inane things and the most, I don't want to say stupid, but, you know, because I enjoy having my birthday party. I admit I'll enjoy it. I like getting presents and stuff. But if you put it into context of the rest of life out there, or the rest of people out there are people out there that, while they have a birthday party, while they have a birthday, they can't even afford a birthday party or all the things that go with it. And yes, we're allowed to spend our money and our resources the way we see fit, but sometimes we forget the, you know, about the rest of other people, you know, out there in the world, and what's going on, and how maybe just that little act, or, you know, taking the time to do something for somebody else, that little act can really be a big difference in somebody's life. That where when we're celebrating money on our birthday, which, you know, it's not me, usually it's not me, you know, spending money, but it's my family or something. But yet, even then, if they were to take that and we were to go out and do something for a community or for a family or something like that, I think, you know, it kind of, you know, really goes back to what he's saying here, how we, you know, shortchange ourselves because of, you know, like in my church and some of the things I've been hearing lately about giving, you know, when you give and you give of yourself and you give of your time and resources, you know, it's something that becomes very powerful in your own self. It really gives you a sense of worth and meaning and being, and that you contributed in a way. And when we get lose sight of that, that's when I think we shortchange ourselves and we cut ourselves off from what is truly out there and what we truly have to see in making a difference out there in life. And I think we have a lot of things quite, you know, to be quite honest about it, I think we have a lot of things asked backwards, you know, when it comes to, you know, how we deal and do and treat things and treat other people. And I'm just as guilty. I mean, believe me, I'm just as guilty. And I think it's, you know, the more we look at it, you know, we are the robber in a sense. I'm done. Whoever's next.
Glad you could join us. Good to see you again, Dan. I'm glad you could join us for a little while.
There, Dan.
And I hope.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Good
What?
You warming up there?
Yeah. I mean, I'm under my covers in my bed. It's only 7:30 here, and I'm gonna have to get ready to go to the men's breakfast.
Okay, go ahead, Catherine. Sorry.
Yeah, please, Catherine. I want to hear what you were saying.
No, I was just wishing him well. I know he's going to leave early, so I just wanted to say have a good time. It was good seeing you and come back.
Yeah, we hope to see you again next week. That'll be awesome. Oh, you're muted.
That would be awesome because I have so missed being on this and being around you guys and interacting, and it's just driven me nuts. But to be here even for the short time, because it's 7:30 and I've still got to get shoes and socks on and get myself out the door and get down there. So, but I'm glad I could throw out my little bit. And next week, hopefully, I'll be a little more prepared, and if I can make it. So we'll see how this week goes, and as I go through the process of working on reopening my unemployment claim from when I was let go back in July, and hopefully they'll okay that, and I can get that money coming in. Because if that doesn't work, life's going to be really interesting in how I pay my bills and stuff. So I believe it'll work out. I believe the good Lord will work it out. So I have faith. So I will see you all later. I love you all, and make it a great day.
Good to see you, Dan. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan. So why do you think it's so difficult for us as a people, as humanity or whatever? I mean, why do you think it's so difficult for us to, I don't know, I mean, help take care of each other better? I mean, why do you think there's such a big gap? I mean, I know, I mean, there's all these like traditions like Christmas, you know, and I love Christmas and it's fun and everything, but the amount of money that is just randomly spent on junk at that time of year, just, it boggles my mind. And I'm like, what if we were to spend it in a different way that was more beneficial, that spread the wealth out so that there wasn't so much, you know, opulence here and poverty there, and not just at the holidays, you know, because I mean, I know a lot of people, they'll go out and they'll do things at the holidays to give, you know, those less fortunate a holiday experience. But what about the rest of the year, you know? I mean, I don't know. Why is it so hard for us to take care of each other? What do you guys think?
I have a little bit to throw in there. We've been going through the chapter on saving in The Law of Success, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich call that I listen to. And every time that I go through that, I'm just flummoxed that we have to be taught, and yet we're not taught. I mean, this is not anything, as far as I know, that still is taught in school. You know, if you don't save money, you will never be rich. If you don't learn how to save money, and there was a comment made about somebody being gifted $100, and they're thinking about all the things that they're going to do with that $100, all the things that they're going to buy, and they have it all spent, you know, 100 times over in the day, and not a bit of it socked away to create more money with. And I know, I was thinking, you know, geez, I was never taught how to save. And I found this little teensy weensy little booklet. I don't know where I had it crammed, but I don't recall ever seeing it again. It was my savings book. My parents had marched me down to the bank when I got my first job, and you know, I started putting in a little bit of savings every time I got a check. Do you think I remember that? I don't remember that at all. I don't remember learning anything about savings until, you know, my dotage. Sorry that I haven't got it. And speaking of fireworks, it happened that everybody was gone New Year's Eve, and I was in the house with the 5 bigger dogs that we have, and then we had all these little puppies, and starting about 7 o'clock at night, I'm hearing this thing, and I'm thinking, my gosh, that sounds like a car exploded. And I'm thinking, how do I describe that? What is that? It was like a bowling ball canonized into an oil drum or something like that. I kept hearing that for 5 hours. And then I'd hear some of these other sounds, and I went out. I had these little puppies that were the size that need to be held, and I had my arm full of 5 little puppies, and I'm walking outside and thinking, what in the heck is going on out here? Am I going to be shot in my yard? And I noticed that on the streets, I happen to live on a street that, of course goes in front of my house, but then there's also a street that goes directly out from my house, and there's just a street next to that. There's a street behind me, and everywhere I looked, there were fireworks going off, for 5 hours. And this is like in, this is Povertyville. I'm looking around and thinking, where did the people get the money for this kind of display? I didn't realize, apparently the laws had changed. I was expecting the police to come rolling in at any time. There wasn't even one cop car that went by. And I guess you can shoot off fireworks however much you want. And so it is interesting. You say, why don't we take better care? Well, the 2 lines that I'm looking at, the Great Way is very straight, but people prefer to deviate. And I just think about every day I get on the internet, and my intention is to go through a course or to do, this or that or the other thing. And next thing I know, I'm looking at my AVG and it won't, line up. And then this happens and that happens. And then I find something a little bit more interesting than what I'd had planned for the day. And I'm reading that and I think I'll just take another, I'll just do one more YouTube on this. And, I'm definitely one of those people who prefer to deviate. And then I read, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Bill Hanlon, but I'm looking at one of his courses on writing a book, and he says, I'm very, very distractible. Well, how many people do you talk to or read that are distractible? I mean, aren't we all? What's happened to us? I think about the things that are changing in our world. I mean, I'm really interested in drones because I have one brother that's a videographer, and he uses drones, and he comes, if he ever comes down here, then next thing we know, we're out in the fields and we're watching these drones. And I mean, there's just so much. Talk about gluttony. Talk about, when the palace is magnificent, when everything around you really is magnificent, it can be very difficult to just kind of discipline yourself and get it done. Take care of yourself. Take care of a neighbor or two. It's just amazing to me. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, that distraction thing, man. I've actually tried to spend less time on the internet in the past few months just because of, well, not so much on the internet, but on Facebook. I get on Facebook to go and do one thing, like set up the event page for our Saturday morning mastermind, and I end up distracted by these 10,000 other things, and then I end up not getting it done. And it's like that one thing I went on there to go and do, and I've just run myself out of time because of all this other mumbo jumbo. It's like I jumped on there today because I was going to get in the event page and I was going to share it over on my page. And instead I saw this advertisement, and it was for this energy healing 10-day something or other. And of course that got me thinking about my mom, and she's, struggling with fibromyalgia and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I clicked on this, and instead of going and doing this sharing thing and I meant to do on Facebook, I ended up on this completely other page and sharing that with my mom, which that was probably a good thing to share with her, but I didn't do what I had intended to do when I originally got on Facebook. So it's like, man, I think that you're right, Karen. I mean, it's a distraction thing. It's so easy to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go and, next time I get my paycheck, I'm going to donate, 10% to whatever. and then you're at the grocery store and you're buying your groceries, and there's this, whatever it is, I don't know, maybe you see a spaghetti squash and you're like, ooh, spaghetti squash. And then you're like, oh, well, I have to have mushrooms, and I have to have onions, and I have to have cabbage, and I have to have all these things. Ooh, and then I got to have some Alfredo sauce, you know. And by the time you're done, you've lost that other 10% that you said that you were going to give to whoever, so you can have your opulent, I say spaghetti squash, I like spaghetti squash. You know, for somebody else, maybe it's frozen pizza. I don't know. But, yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know. But then again, you know, should we feel bad because we are human and we do our human things? Or do we just say, okay, well, you know, I didn't do it this time. Let's work towards doing something next time. Or what can I do different in the future, and point myself in that direction and hope for the best? I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
So that's a good point. Do we feel guilty about, you know, what we've done and what situation we're in? At the beginning, he's saying, if I just had a little sense, I would walk in the great way. My only fear would be straying. The lifestyle that Lao Tzu lived was quite austere, and I'm sure very close to that of a monk. And most of us do not live even close to that type of lifestyle. So I think there's like some balance in between. I think, yeah, like I was feeling sort of responsible. I was like, well, is this my responsibility? And I was thinking, yes, part of it is, and then it falls on all of our shoulders to take care of these things. I think there's like a certain balance in celebrating and then like saving. That was a good point Karen was talking about, because I was thinking about that too. And I've heard this saying, like, you know, unless you know why you want wealth for something. And it says here, amassing wealth to the extent of not knowing to do with it. So like, you know, if you say, at first I was thinking, oh, so that means you don't save anything? Well, you know, I think you have to have a reason, you know, and have to have reasons. Things can be straightened out. I was also feeling a little depressed because my birthday's New Year's and it's not always so sweet. So sometimes fireworks are a nice thing for me, but I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that whole duality of everything, you know. And you know, one of the questions I kind of posed just out in the air to myself after I read this, I was like, you know, live and let live. You know, there's that whole aspect of it. And there, you know, it's like, you know, should we feel guilty for what we haven't done or what we should be doing or what we think and who defines these, what we should do and what we shouldn't do and how we should be or not be or whatever. And so we have this whole duality. And I wonder, I think a lot of time, I think so much of the difficulties in life come from us expecting something when we go do, you know, like if we go do something nice for someone, or, you know, we try and help somebody, is that we expect some return on that, like it's an investment of some sort, you know. And you know, and when we don't get that, then we feel disappointed that we didn't get it. It's like we somehow we just can't find pleasure in the doing of, versus, you know, we have these expectations that we're trying to achieve something or whatever. And so then when we see the person who is maybe on the side of the road and they're begging, is we're like, well, you know, they're there because they ended up there, you know, they had choices and that's the life that they decided they were going to live, you know. And you know, it sucks for them, but you know, what's my 25 cents going to do for them anyway? You know, I don't know. And then we had, and then the whole side of you know, it's like what's right, what's wrong in every situation. You know, it's like, you know, Chris talking about you know, you have the his perspective on the fireworks is like, you know, on one hand we could sit here and say fireworks, they're so opulent and they're such a big waste of money and all of that, and yet for him it can be something that just is a good feeling. And it, you know, I mean, everything has two sides to it. And I don't know, I wonder sometimes, it's like, you know, what would our world look like if we could not have expectations? We just do things because they feel good to do, is in terms of, you know, helping each other and not having those expectations. Would we do more? Would it balance out eventually? Would it, you know, if we weren't so caught up in everything we must have and we're more thankful for what we already have? You know, I don't know.
We would, because that's, you know, when groups of people come together to do good things, then like there's good outcomes. So yeah, I myself need to improve, and a lot of us could improve in different areas. So yeah, no, those are good. Those are good. That's kind of good advice. Definitely. The world can be a better place. There's a lot of good in the world.
What defines what? Here's a question. Okay, so if Lao Tzu was a monk and he basically had, let's say, you know, the shoes on his feet and the clothes on his back, and he had food and he had shelter, you know, and you know, okay, if he seems to think that, I'm just speculating here, okay, so if he thinks that's enough, is that enough for everybody? Because if that's enough for everybody, then I would say there's a lot of people that have that, you know, that maybe in terms of, you know, say my lifestyle compared to Lao Tzu would be, you know, opulent, and you know, it would seem like there's too much, you know. But then if I were to put myself back, you know, last year when we were living in our camper and we had minimal money coming in, we didn't have a bunch of extra spending money. I had a roof over my head. I was in a nature environment. I had enough food. I had clothes. I had all these things. I wouldn't say that it was an opulent lifestyle, but yet at the same time, the nature side of it, I had a lot of opulence in the things that I was grateful for. And, you know, so I mean, every different level of living, I think it depends on your perspective too, you know, because I wouldn't want to, you know, I learned a lot. I had a lot of lessons that you know, life lessons that I experienced, or personal growth moments that I experienced that I would not have otherwise had if we hadn't been in some of the difficult situations. So, you know, I wouldn't want to keep somebody from having their own personal growth experiences either. So it's I don't know. I feel like in a lot of ways, everybody is on the path that they need to be on for whatever it is they came here to live. And yet at the same time, I hate seeing people suffer. You know, I don't want people to suffer, but yet I know that the suffering that I've experienced has been necessary for me in my life, you know, and I don't know, there's all these different aspects to all of it, you know. It's like I don't know, I guess we do what we think that we need to do in our own lives, and if that impacts others, I don't know, I think everything that we do impacts others in one way or another. It was like at my work last night, I was all I was doing was assisting this woman and her daughter to find a pair of shoes to go with this dress for whatever event. I don't even know what event it was, but they were so thankful to me for that little bit of help. And I'm like, you know, it's the silliest, littlest things that we do every day that can make huge impacts on people's lives. And so I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we need to, I don't know. Maybe we just need to do those little things, and more people need to do the little things. I don't know. Maybe it'll all balance out one day.
Little goes a long way. That's good advice. Yeah. can all make changes. Yeah.
I mean, we all love it if like $1 million fell in our lap. That'd be great, right? You know, we do this and that and the other with it. And yet at the same time, when Karen was talking about saving earlier, what is the statistic? There was a thing we've talked, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but you know, they out there say that, you know, even the people who win the lottery, it's like within a couple of years, they're right back where they were before because they didn't do anything with that money other than just randomly spend it, you know, but yet at the same time, they got whatever enjoyment out of it. You know, I don't know. Life is funny. It's interesting.
You still there, Catherine?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yep, can't see you, but I can hear you.
Well, I turned the camera off so that hopefully, because the bandwidth is low, so I don't know if it helps or not. But yeah, I'm still choppy, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah,
All right.
when we hear you, you're clear. It's just and you're loud and clear. It's just it'll be like you'll be talking and then and then you'll be talking.
Yeah.
Oh well. What did you write on here? You said even after saving so many at the end, they rewarded him with a medal or something, and he looked at it and started crying at how many more lives he could have saved with that. Something like that anyway. Oh, I missed. What were you talking about there? Sorry.
I said I have Schindler's syndrome.
Schindler's syndrome. I don't know what that is.
That's what that is, what you just read.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, gotcha. So, like, you know, he saved a bunch, but then he got awarded a medal, and he's like, you could have taken this, what you spent on this medal, and helped people. So,
Exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. It is interesting how who was saying everything's all backwards? You know, who was doing that today?
I can't help but think it's more than that, though. It's not so much. I mean, maybe it is exactly that, and only that. But when I was reading that, I was thinking, you start seeing yourself as able to make a difference with people, and even that becomes not enough. I mean, I think so many of us get caught up with that we are not enough and will never be enough, and what we do is never going to be enough. You know, that I could just go on. And you know, I was hearing some stridency, I think, in your voice, Samantha, about you know, what can we do, or what, you know, what should we do, or whatever. And I think for me, just recently, and this is all coming out just now as I say it, so it's not well thought out, and if it doesn't make any sense, that's why. But, you know, it took me years to come up with a purpose that I think is really my purpose. You know, if you're involved with the Think and Grow Rich idea, you know, you've got to have your major definite purpose and your, you know, major chief aim and all those kinds of things. I would think, okay, all right, so what's mine? Oh, okay, well, it's to do this, it's to be that, it's whatever, and who knows, maybe the one that I've got now will still change. But you know, there's a difference for me between knowing that and knowing what that requires of me to change about myself, to be better, to, you know, to be on track with that, than you know, to just be kind of out there slogging through the mire and trying to help. and thinking, look at all these hands reaching out for help. They want help, and I only have two hands. I can't help. Mainly, I'm not helping because whatever I help is so little compared to what it needs help. I don't know. Am I making any sense? Probably not.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that also the other aspect of that is that sometimes we think that this one little thing that we do, because we don't think it's enough, we don't do anything at all. And that, I think, is even worse than not doing anything. Good jump out, Chris. I think you were about to say something.
No, that's what I think. So a lot of times I think, oh, I'm not helping at all, so then I don't do anything. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, so how many people are out there, kind of in that aspect? And I think that, I think this is part of the problem right there, is the fact that we devalue ourselves so much. Those little things that we do take action on, we don't give ourselves credit for those. And, like earlier when I was talking about that woman in the TED Talk, how she was saying that, we don't celebrate these things that we do, that we are awesome and amazing at, even if it's just the littlest things. And we don't celebrate those kinds of things. We weren't taught to. We were taught to, you have to be the best of the best of the best, otherwise you're a loser. That's what it seems like it was taught to me in school. It's pretty much, if you don't get an A, you're a failure, which is ridiculous. If you tried, you did good, and if you do a little bit, you've done something. And and then we get upset with ourselves for not doing more than what we did do if we do take an action, and then that kind of perpetuates the problem, because then we're like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to do it then, or if I'm not going to do more, then I'm not even going to do anything. And then and then you get upset with yourself for that. And then it's like this, circle of whatever you want to down on ourselves.
Guilt, yeah. That's one of the reasons I do not totally accept, especially at the younger ages, I do not accept the grading system. Because in my experience, when I was below average, there was so much fear and guilt put into my mother that I would not try, and then I would just have complete guilt and sorrow about the whole subject, that I ended up failing my entire high school years. So I don't believe in the grading system. I think it's a way to too much guilt trip people and and put them into a certain area and then make you feel bad, so that you don't want to try, or people don't advance still. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's very discouraging. And, when I started in high school, I started in, of course, back then they taught Algebra 1 in freshman year of school. I think they teach it at elementary school now. But, when I started into that, I had, my first semester, I had this really awesome teacher who was very encouraging. And I was, kicking ass in that subject, doing really great. And I understood it. In the second semester, I got switched to another teacher just because that's the way schools did things. And this woman was down on every single little thing. It was I get the answer right, but she was upset because I didn't write out 2 + 2. I'm like, really? And, I feel like, and I don't want to sit here and blame her, because I'm not about blaming other people, but it's just a representation of the way that, as a teenager, not having the inner fortitude, if you will, of pushing forward regardless of the things that are going against you. When you're a kid, you take those things so seriously, what the adults say. And if they're discouraging you because of something so freaking stupid, they don't even realize the impact that can make on that person's the rest of their life. I mean, who knows what path I would have taken if I'd have gone all the way through calculus like my original plan was. But because of her, I was like, well, fuck this, excuse my language. And I dropped out of all of those and went on and just did business math, which, that was helpful, but it was basic. And I'm like, well, if I can't get, it's stupid, right? But anyway, we're down enough on the school system. I could go on about that for hours. Catherine put a comment over here, so let me read that and point us in a new direction. She says, I live very intentionally. You guys know, like when I eat, intending that each bite feeds all those who hunger. But one day while I was doing that, I very clearly heard, go feed them. So now I'm up at 1 and 2 a.m. doing trainings and helping people in Africa make money to change their lives. I don't think everyone is called to, but when you are, do it. I think you are right about not doing because you don't think you have the power to change things. You do. You do. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you. Geez, so we're at 11 o'clock. Okay. So everybody share some final thoughts and we can wrap it up for today.
I think I'm going to just bring the robber back into this. You know, I don't think that I've thought very much in my life or had cause to think about being a robber. But, you know, you mentioned the thing about calculus, and I immediately thought of the one math class that I remember when I got to university was trigonometry. And I was in this class, this guy, this old duffer, I mean, you know, he was clearly not content with what he was doing. And, you know, so life was shrill and mean. He would, you know, stalk up and down the rows. And I threw my hand up in the air because I didn't understand this thing. And he just shriveled me. He pulled out his sharp sword. And I felt like it was because I was female. It was like, you know, you are entirely too stupid by your gender to raise your hand and ask a question in this class. Anyway, just kind of like you know, I never turned a page in that trigonometry book from then on. And, you know, I never went on to any of the other, you know, that's why I didn't get a major in psychology. I have a minor in psychology because I didn't have to have the math and the statistics. But, I mean, that is genuine robbery, that kind of thing. And if I'd had a brain in my head at the time and had any idea how to cogitate about any of that, I would have realized that I was robbing myself to let him make that kind of a difference in my life. And so I think I'm just going to suggest that we all think about what kind of robbers we are for the next week. So this is Karen Lohab signing out.
This is Chris giving the last word of our, you know, just not the last word, my last word of this meeting. And I have a suggestion. If you want to cut it off, we can chat for a little more when our video's over. We meet here every week for about an hour. So if you want to come join us, come to www.saturdaymorningmastermind.com. And it's there's a icon for the Zoom where to meet us, and the number is on there. So you can join us at that link, and we appreciate y'all being here.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris, for that reminder for everybody. Excuse me. Thought I was talking fine, and then my voice got scratchy. Yeah, Karen, you know, that's one thing that I really think that they need to be teaching in elementary school is those you know, the positive motivating yourself and being responsible for your own self, and that nobody can just, you know, make you feel or do or be or whatever, and that, you know, you have to have courage, and stuff is going to come up that is going to discourage you, and this is how you work through it, you know. But of course, if we did that, then we'd have much more independent thinkers in school, and then the teachers would have a much tougher job So I think that's what they keep teaching us, crap that they, Anyway, that's beside the point. So anyway, guys, have an awesome, amazing weekend. We love you all. And like Chris was saying, join us each week. We meet on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Is that right? I think that's right. And and you can find us at mindsetmasterycollective.com or saturdaymorningmastermind.com. Find us on YouTube. If you're seeing this video on YouTube, then go ahead and click like and share it and subscribe to our channel, and be sure and let others know what we're doing here, because we would love to have more people participate and share your perspectives. I mean, that's why we get on here, so that we can all learn and grow together and help each other understand these principles and talk about the deeper things in life and in our world and our place in it and all of those things. So awesome. Have a good one, guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.